Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade, as we have just had Season 15 announced. Yes, I did actually have to go and check which season number it was, because I almost said it was 14, but no, it is Season 15 called Eternal. So, it's starting on February the 23rd, and it is going to be a Chinese-inspired season. So let's just run through what we know so far. We've got a bit of a trailer, we know some stuff about the units, plus we've got a new game mode and a few other little interesting things that are changing. So I guess the first thing to cover is a Chinese inspired season. Probably a lot of people who watch my videos are probably European, more likely to be a little bit disappointed by that, but it is a Chinese developer. We've kind of had quite a few European seasons, obviously just coming on the back of a Middle Eastern season with Persia, and now going over to Asia with the Chinese season. I guess it's not surprising, of course. Would I have preferred an ancient Britain season, an English season? Yes, of course, but not to worry, we'll go with what we've got. So, in terms of new units, I'll probably cover them first, and then we'll come back to this escalation siege mode. So, 3 new units, as we've kind of come to get used to in the new seasons. A new 3-star pikeman unit. We see them a little bit in the video. It looks like they've got a spear with like 2 mini muskets strapped to the side. They're going to be like a short-ranged, slightly melee, slightly ranged unit. I'm imagining they're going to perform kind of similar to the Yang Yus we've had in the Persian season, in the sense that they kind of can do a little bit of melee, but they've also got some sort of some close ranged ability, and so I think that's probably what we're going to see. We've then, of course, got the Crescent Monks. It's going to be interesting to see how these compare to the other monks unit we've got in the game. Doesn't really tell us a lot about them. They're obviously just going to be a melee unit. How are they going to differ from the Cudgel monks that we currently have in the game? That's kind of something I'm curious about. They are a tier higher, so I wonder if we're going to have similar mechanics like arrow blocking like we've had before. Presumably they're not going to have any shields, so they're going to be fairly vulnerable. How many people are there going to be in a unit? Are they going to perform more like berserkers or more like the tier 3 Cudgel monks? And finally, another tier 5 cavalry unit. Let loose with devastating attacks from atop mighty steeds and turn the tide with this cavalry brigade. Doesn't really tell us a lot about them or about them how they're really going to perform. We get a few little snippets of information from the trailer, but not really enough to help us all that much. So, 3 new units. Now let's go back and cover the new siege mode, Escalation. So they've actually got a whole separate article about this. So if we hop over to that, it tells us a bit more about it. Now, the essence of this is saying that currently in the siege battles, we pre-pick our units, which is true. So say you have currently, I think we've got like 800 odd leadership with the leadership bonuses plus whatever you have on your armor, and maybe you pick 2 golden units and say a unit of stalwarts. So maybe you pick shield maidens, Medao, and some stalwarts. And you pick that before the battle. And so you probably adjust that selection based on the map that you're playing. Maybe if you're playing something like, I don't know, Sun City, or I can't think of the name, the fort one where there's the big open area around the sea point. You can't actually believe I've played this game for over 3 years. But that one, you know what I mean. There's a lot of cavalry there, so maybe you're going to go more pike focused or more cavalry focused. So you're picking your units before the battle. They want to change that to make it so that when you load in, you just pick 1 unit. Doesn't really matter what it is, and you pay the leadership cost for that unit. So that could be your shield maidens, whatever they are, 315 leadership, something like that. Maybe you fight with your shield maidens, you lose half the unit, you go back to the supply point, and there's a lot of enemy cavalry spawning. So actually, you want to take out a unit of Medao. You haven't pre-selected that. So you can pick anything. You could pick Medao, you could pick halberdier sergeants, or maybe you could pick Lao Rangers and have cavalry of your own. You then pay the leadership cost of whatever unit you go to when you go to the supply point. So supply points is almost like acting like going to your barracks. So you'd have, for example, I would have 100 units to choose from. And you pay the leadership cost when you take that unit out. You could then, of course, go back to your shield maidens, and they would cost you nothing to go back to them leadership wise, but they would still be a half strength unit. So essentially it would be changing how you select units in game. For the moment, at least, this is in a separate mode, though. It's going to be an escalation siege, and normal siege battles are going to remain just as normal siege battles. So I'd be kind of interesting to see. Sometimes I find with these extra modes they put in that they kind of struggle to get enough players to actually play them. So hopefully that's something that they can kind of sort out, because they normally get played for the first week or two and then drop off, and there's never enough people to actually really get a queue unless you want to face off against bots, which isn't exactly a lot of fun. So that's the escalation side of things. Hopping back over to the article, there's a few other interesting things that we don't know a lot about, but I am kind of curious about. The new enchantment system, Artificer's Forge. Starting from the new season, equipment reforging is changing, using the Artificer's Stone to refine your equipment at the forge to get gear with better attributes. It really doesn't tell us anything other than that there's going to be a new item which is going to alter the way equipment attributes are applied. Whether this is going to allow you to sort of pick the attributes that you want, whether you could pick leadership, whether it's just going to be refining existing equipment. It does say refine, so can I take my legendary breastplate, put that in and add leadership onto that? Or is it just going to add an extra attribute on top and it's just another extra random? So we don't really know how that's going to work. Presumably it's going to be something that gets added into the Battle Pass system. Hopefully it's not something that gets added into the store. That would be pretty pay to win if they did, so hopefully they don't go and do that. We can wait and see if they do. We shall criticise them if they do. But yeah, kind of interested to see how that plays out. I kind of have always some doubts when you start playing around with the equipment system like that, particularly when people have put so much time and effort into getting good quality equipment that they're happy with, and then suddenly you're going to make it a lot easier to go and do. It's kind of a little bit like how they've been playing around with the doctrine system last time. I kind of get it, but I also have some reservations. We have a new artillery, Divine Crow. Do we really need another epic artillery in the game? I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, we've got one. An ancient Chinese fire guide to fire weapons. Not really sure what this is going to do. But it does say it has extensive range and blast radius. So it kind of sounds a bit like a longer range mortar. But we'll kind of have to wait to see this actually get deployed in battle to see how effective this is going to be. If it has long range and blast radius, hopefully it's not super damaging, and hopefully it doesn't set everything on fire around it. Otherwise, that is going to be quite annoying. Of course, we have all the usual pre-order things that they do with the season battle passes now, which I'm never a huge fan of that they do that. And then, of course, they talk that there's going to be the usual territory wars and the territory wars the campaign that goes with the new season. So, all in all, how do we feel about the new season? I'm kind of fine with it being the ancient Chinese season. I think that's kind of inevitable, and I can kind of understand why that is. I think part of me feels like we're not really anything particularly radically different from the 14 previous seasons, and I think this has kind of been a bit of a mounting criticism for the last 5 seasons. I've probably said this, maybe even longer, that we're going to get a battle pass which has the same sort of things in it as it has the last 14 times. We get 3 new units. They're kind of running out of unit mechanics a little bit to go with. We'll see if anything is radically different. But even things like the Crescent Monks sound remarkably similar to the Cudgel Monks that we already have in the game. Is there going to be any real significant difference? The Pikemen sound fairly similar to other units we have, with this sort of slight melee, slight range thing going on. And while we don't really know a lot about the cavalry, it's hard to imagine how they're going to be that radically different. So I kind of feel like we're almost doing slightly the same thing. We haven't got any new maps introduced. I don't dislike the idea of trying this as a new siege mode. It's kind of cool I get the idea that you can pick what you want on the spot. That's kind of cool. I like that as an idea for a mode. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. But yeah, do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Kind of pleased about the new season, unsure, or just somewhere in the middle. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.